Hello, welcome to my Garden Chronicles. I would like to introduce you to my updates of my begonia. This is not fairly new, but I have not been recording them. This is begonia Bunchii. You can see that they have small tiny frills around the leaves and a little bit of a maroonish color when it's exposed to a little bit more sun, and it has an underside of this red, common thing for begonias. I would say this is actually quite hardy in comparison to most begonias, and I find that this lasted quite some time. I think it was 6 months plus. If you can see, my medium is basically sphagnum moss, and that's about that actually. It's just a moist, and you can see the plant is just growing up. Quite tender, but also hardy. I would say that they don't fall away like most racks where they go dormant kind of thing. It's coming strong, and the other factor is that there are a lot of babies that comes out from their pups, and quite a good plant actually. Juveniles, it's round, but when it comes older, it has this kind of frills, and quite interesting to see that it seems to be succulent like, and it has a very nice pattern. Of course it's a green kind of thing, but I find that the greener version seems to be more hardy and able to handle the stress compared to the colored ones. I used to have Acetosa. Acetosa is here, but the problem with this one here is that I think it's slowly going dormant. I'm not sure whether to replant it back or use fertilizer to regenerate it. So I just have to see how it goes on and how it behaves. But apart from that, this can actually grow big actually, but I think it have seen its good days. Hopefully it stays with me. I have managed to propagate it, and there's some success. I will show you later on this. Coming over here, this is my Mop-wick update. Over here you can see this particular is similar to Speculata, but this is the Elegans. Also I have this black one. It's a 3-digit begonia with a numeric. I still can't remember. I think it's 497 or something like that. So I will definitely put it in the notes below. You can just check if you're looking for the ID. This one is again dragon tail begonia, similar as the wax begonia. Is growing big and strong. No flowers yet, so perhaps it's the fertilizer that can make the difference on this. Other than that, burning bush begonia, I would say this is one of the most hardiest ones. I would really recommend this if you want to start as a beginner. Do you start with this one. What I've done here is that I have actually cut and poked them everywhere wherever I have the space, just to have them as pairs. They do grow tall, but once they grow too tall, the base over here tend to rot. I think base overweight now, so don't let them grow very long. So keep them slightly short. I think this height it should be fine. If you find that they are withering the leaf and seems to be a bit leggy, it's time to propagate them. Over here I have Martin Mystery. You can see it's a little bit rosy, a bit with the silver kind of tinge. The back is Acetosa. Most begonia has this effect, these features. I actually planted this. This is one of the most hardiest ones. Also, Martin Mystery. Actually planted everywhere over here, but my problem was this is the only survivor. So it is important that they don't receive too much water when you plant them, because I think once just after I planted, it has become a rainy season, and the challenge was that because it was too wet for too long and the whole root ball have started to rot together with the stem cutting. So yeah, you have to take chances on them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Similarly, this particular one, the one that I mentioned earlier, the name 497 or something like that, of the reason why they have these names, because they have not yet identified the name, so it's in that numeric number yet. You can see that the flower is quite a beauty. I have actually growing this by the pebble kind of thing. You can see it's just in a heap of pebble at the corner of the drain. This is where I cultivated. Earlier it was very bright and hot, but eventually the ferns and all that started to grow and it's become a semi-shade, and this particular begonia loves it. I also have spare, which is over here. You can see it's like getting overcrowded, but this is what I want to do with my garden. This is a number 3-digit kind of begonia, similarly with Chivalry, but this has a wider span and more fan-like kind of thing. You can see it's quite big in comparison with Chivalry. You can see that can you see the difference? Similarly, but not the same. I think this is more darker and this is more lighter. The leaves are growing bigger and bigger. This I am actually cultivating in a mop-wick system on a pot. Luzonensis. Also, this I think Joy Silver, Silver King, Silver Limbo. There's another numeric one I propagated here, so waiting for it to pick up. This is I just can't recall the name right now. I think if I'm not wrong, it's Aquamarine. It's supposed to have a very strong thing, but I think it's because it's in this particular place where it's receiving too much sun, I think, so it's more greener rather than the Aquamarine, a bit the bronze kind, I mean the bluish kind of tone. It's not there yet. Some of it it's in a juvenile state, so I really can't recall the name, but I think I can pick it up. But most of it is the silver, one of the silver kind of thing. Also this juvenile. The fireworks is over here. I think I thought I almost lost it. It slowly picked up. This is one of the good things of growing it on a mop-wick system. They somehow pick up because the root ball is over there. Lalomie is also here. You can see it. If you notice, they've been keeping it almost for 6 months, and yeah, they did not die away, and that's the good thing about it. Also, I've been keeping acacias just to keep the place bushy, because sometimes it can be so open, and you know, vermin and pests tend to congregate in these kind of places because it's moist and cool. Also, I use osmocord over here. Somehow I find that it keeps the plant more strong and steady. This is what I meant. Acetosa, a new growth over here. If you can see it, it's coming forth, so hopefully it picks up. From my last video, if you notice, this one has really grown big and very stable, but it's coming underneath from these holes, so it's quite a feat to notice that this particular leaf can bear and has a long lifespan. Chivalry has this furry stalk kind of thing. There's another interesting feature. This is, I think, a new leaf is being formed over here. It's pretty What a beauty. Other than that, let me take, yeah, see, it is a kind of the environment kind of thing to create a kind of how do you put it, a habitat for begonia where they do well in this condition. Just the a more clearer picture of this fireworks that is over here. I'm not sure what happened to my Black Knight. I used to have them here, but I have to wait and see what happened to it. Earlier I had this rodent problem that comes over here and bites off and made its nest on top of it, and sort of had a very big problem with this particular thing. Eventually I was managed to control it, but I still do have this rodent problem. It's much more bearable compared to before. Speculata, and also this particular one, Floccifera, I think, if I'm not wrong. It has grown quite a while, and the beauty of it is that it's very stable. And they also have this inflorescence. It always has flowers. That is a beauty thing about this candy cane. It's coming from this pot, but I think it's not doing so well. I may have to propagate it one of these days. And coming over here is my Hodes. This is a very thin-leafed begonia. I would say I'm surprised that it's doing well, because it appears to be very fragile looking thing, but because, as I said, because it's in green, so they tend to able to pick up quite well. How do you say it? It has a similar shape with mutata, but this is quite hardy. Most of the begonias would have gone by now, but this one is doing well. I think again, earlier it was growing so big, and the main branch has started to rot, and I replanted it, but it didn't happen. So these are the small babies that sprout out from this place. Coming over here, there's a cane, Bornese or something like that. Picture and maculata. This is another maculata. I'm not sure whether they are the same or different. I see there's some kind of speckles that is at the end, whereas this one does not have so much. Maybe I'm wrong, because you know they tend to change, and the variation happens when they different size and they morphed and kind of thing. This jewel, silver jewel, and it's coming down here. I would say this particular one is quite hardy, and it's a beauty to have. Do cultivate it if you get your hands on this. This one, look at the size of the leaf. Begonia aya. It is very much silvery. If you look at the back, yeah. I have to put a stick on it to keep it upright. You know, it's falling over by its own weight. And this one, another numeric type, 3 numbers type. I forgot the name. It's like by the time I memorize and come back over for a video, I totally forgot that. That's another challenge on this. Okay, all these cane begonias, and This is my burning bush. This is the other spares that I actually have here. If you notice that when they are exposed more to sun, the colors are much more burgundy black kind of thing, and the stalk, the central stalk, is a bit red dot. It does have a very good shiny feature on this. Coming over here is my another begonia, crackling rose. That is, I think, since berry days. But they do tend to have this same similarities. The back of it is a bit burgundy. I kept this in the shade, so it's not evident. I have lost few of this. This is my spare actually. This is another one, Castaway. It has the spots, but it's not really like, not really doing well. This is in a very thick shade, Plutonis if I'm not wrong. And I love this particular one simply because it's quite hardy. Similarly, when I say most of the green colored ones, this is actually doing against the fence. Quite a struggle actually. I've not propagated spares on this yet. I'm still wondering how am I going to do it. I tried propagating it, but was not successful. The effect of it here is that if you can notice the leaves, they're very much like a mushroom kind of thing, and it's quite unique to notice them. Yeah, I'm not really showing you properly how is it, because this is the edge of the corner of my house where sharing the fence with my neighbor. So this is the best I can get. Excuse me. And over here, I also place all of my canes. Apparently, this particular one, you can see it. Yeah, it seems to become very light green because it seems to have like it burnt, sort of like that's the problem with this particular one. It's either receiving too much sun, and it's too much shade, too much water, and this the picta that you saw that I planted the other side. I'm still wondering, they have not yet flowered, so I'm just hoping that they flower. Over here is another one, Bornonis. They seems to have this pendant shaped flowers, quite unique and beautiful. I like the small tiny flowers. Yeah, that's the best you can get. This is another one, same thing. This is a spare actually, and it's doing fine. I have just topped up some soil on top of it, and it become very robust. I've just poked through this particularly, Floccifera. Earlier there was this particular one was doing so nice and there was babies coming out, and unfortunately a rat has to come and upturn and bite the whole leaf, and there goes my 3 months of hard work. So it's the challenge with nature here. And this is the begonia, the one that I showed earlier. And finally, my last collection, Manaus. I've been trying to propagate too. It's a very slow growing plant in my hands. Same feature. It's supposed to be hardy and able to handle sun well, and very trailing type, very succulent type. So it is quite a challenge. This is the collection of what do you say, Martin Mystery. more rosy. If you notice, you can see what I mean. And yeah, okay, thank you for visiting. I hope you enjoyed my collection and the way that I've been keeping my begonias. It's much more lesser compared to the earlier collection, but I'm happy that the ones that are actually in my hands seems to be doing well. You might be wondering, why am I actually planting them with other plants together with it? Simply because somehow I find that they seems to have this ability to cohabit with another plant, and somehow the thirsty plant seems to absorb more water, and the begonia is actually very stable. Sometimes overwatering can cause them root rot, and planting together with another plant somehow seems to keep both plants more stable and alive. And I hope you enjoy my garden view here. I hope you have a nice day observing my garden. It's quite a challenge having begonias. I think you should know, when they die it really breaks your heart. But I'm not planning to make new collection yet. I'm just maintaining this and hope to see that they do well and grow in a consistent basis. That's what I'm actually looking for, consistency. Because it's like buying them and seeing them lasting for 3 months and then suddenly they are gone, and it's like a total waste of money and time and energy and effort to cultivate, and it just don't seem to happen. So here you go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much. Do click on my comments and ask any questions that you need, or do hit like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.